What's going on, boys and girls? Today I'm gonna be watching something by a YouTuber named Quazii. Yesterday there was a Final Fantasy newsletter, like a live newsletter, where they're talking about what they're gonna be doing for the next 10 years or so. So he did a breakdown of it. I want to check this out. I didn't see the newsletter, so this is gonna be the first time I'm seeing everything. So I hope you guys are going to enjoy this. Thanks for coming and watching with me. We will see you in a minute. All right, you guys, here it is. So like I was saying in the intro, and I'll break it down a little bit more real quick before we start. But, Final Fantasy 14, the producers, did a live newsletter yesterday, which they've done another one in the past, some months ago. But this time they're talking about, what's going to happen in the next 10 years of Final Fantasy. So all you Final Fantasy 14 fans love to play online. I mean, I am a huge fan. This is pretty amazing. I mean, I haven't seen this yet. I don't know what it's all about, honestly, but this is pretty amazing that they're going to tell us their plans for the next 10 years. So I'm looking forward to seeing this. And this is a breakdown. The actual live letter or live stream was like 5 hours long, so there's no way I'm sitting here watching the whole thing and recording that. You guys would get bored of that probably. If you really want to see that, I guess you can go watch the actual, or rewatch the actual live newsletter. But anyway, enough of me talking. Let's get into this. He's gonna break this down for us. So here we go. This is Quazii. Go subscribe to him. All right, guys. Thanks, let's do this.
Massive changes are coming to FF14 as Yoshi P just shared them on the producer live letter talking about the next 10 years of Final Fantasy 14. I think we got more than we bargained for. Lots of exciting news to go through, including graphical updates, 2 new ultimates, an entirely new dungeon system, and Hildebrand is back along with confirmation for Island Sanctuaries and many more news. This is meant to be a concise summary of everything you need to know from the producer live letter. Let's jump right into it. So Yoshi P clarified up front for the producer.
Okay, so hold on. Just want to say real quick. So in case you're new to Final Fantasy, he said a lot right there. So definitely graphical upgrades. That's going to be amazing. I always love that in any game, right? But and Final Fantasy 14 already has good graphics, if you ask me. But so upgrading them is going to be, just supreme, right? But then the ultimates he's talking about, there's going to be 2 new ultimates, which is like a basically like fighting a primal boss, but it's on a higher level, like 3 times or something like that. There's extreme and there's hard, extreme, and then ultimate. So not everybody does it, but they're adding 2 new ultimates, and then they're upgrading the dungeon system, new dungeon system. That's amazing, which, if you play Final Fantasy, you pretty much do that every day. What else did he say? I said something else, but anyway, I'm gonna let him talk. I just wanted to say, in case you weren't sure, all of that, he ran through that real fast. So let's go.
Producer live letter, that given the title of the producer live letter, which is basically the next 10 years of Final Fantasy 14, he said there were some speculations that Yoshi P might be leaving Final Fantasy 14, which he immediately denied, and he said that FF14 is his life's work. He's not gonna just get up and leave it. So that's the reassurance that people need. And in case you missed it, just before they went live, Yoshi P also said they have no intentions to introduce NFTs at this point. Now with that out of the way, let's dive deeper into what he has to share. First up, a quick teaser about the timeline leading up to 7.0. Yoshi P.
Okay, so hold on. Sorry, cut in again. But Yoshi, in case you didn't know this, Yoshi P is the director producer of Final Fantasy 14 Online. He basically took the original game, which is A Realm Reborn, and he just he redid it from really the ground up, at least from what I understand. And then, of course, every expansion after that, Heaven's Word, every expansion that's been out, obviously he's done. So it's his life's work. That's what he's talking about. He's not leaving. So nobody freak out about that. All right. So here we go.
He said leading up to 7.0, his team will be working hard on a graphical upgrade for the entire game, and we'll be covering this in greater detail in the later part of this video, so hold your horses there. He said the vision for FF14 going forward though is he wants it to be a better RPG game alone or with friends. He often hear about players who played all the Final Fantasy single-player titles and the only FF titles they don't play is the online multiplayer versions of FF11 and FF14. And he like his team to work towards making the goal of FF14 being more solo-friendly.
Okay, so that's awesome. I mean, I already think it's great, you know? I play solo. But I mean, of course I play with other people when I do dungeons and stuff, but I enjoy this game just, you know? So, but he's saying they're going to work on making it even better. So, man, that's amazing, you know? All right, so here we go.
Yoshi P reckons one of the biggest hesitations of playing a MMORPG like FF14 is the daunting idea of having to play with other people online. And Yoshi P says he has the intention to make FF14 into a very solo-friendly MMORPG in the next 10 years.
Nice.
Next up, he shared his intentions for the trust system revamp. This is something he teased before previously, but we finally are getting details now. There will be large-scale updates to the trust system. Trust compatibility will be added for all main scenario dungeons, and 4-player trials to be added in patch 6.1 to 6.5. And starting in patch 6.1, they will make A Realm Reborn scenario duties trust compatible. It might be fun to go back and revisit those content, especially.
Okay, now I just wanted to say this. I'm not sure what that means, honestly. You guys out there might know, you know, tell me in the comments, but I'm not sure what trust compatibility. I'm not sure what that means. Make it trust friendly. So not sure about that. Maybe he'll explain more. Here, let's go.
If there's voice lines for those trust systems. He mentioned that they'll be updating the 8-player trials for the trust system at a later time, likely to come after 7.0 and beyond. His team tried out the trust system for 8-player content in the Mother Crystal trial, and he said that definitely took a lot of dev resources to do it, hence the extended timeline that is required. He also clarified that in the earlier adventures, we will get generic adventurers appearing as trust members. This is of course applicable where it doesn't make sense from a story perspective to have the Scions helping you out. So I guess this is not to break immersion. In another big surprise, they are removing Cape Westwind and they are allocating resources to remake it. The Praetorium and Castrum Meridianum will also be rebuilt as 4-player instance dungeons. The battle with Ultima Weapon will also be a 4-player battle, and the final showdown with La Habrea will also be an instant story battle. And moving away from that, we get to the graphical upgrades, and that to me is the biggest highlight of the entire producer live letter. There's some really exciting screenshots being shown here, and I really cannot wait to experience it myself.
Beautiful.
Yoshi P first provided context that this will be Final Fantasy XIV's first graphical upgrade ever, which also implies there will be subsequent graphical updates that they'll look at down the line. Yoshi P said, considering how long the game has been around, there's been an insane amount of graphical assets to update. At this point in time, he laughed at a comment in chat proclaiming that 4K grape assets are coming, basically based off the grape meme at Endwalker launch. But jokes aside, Yoshi P and team said that his team is working hard on development and prep work leading up to the expansion release in 7.0. This is all in preparation for the graphical upgrades that's coming to the game. They'll be trying out different graphical shaders, they'll be doing graphical asset conversions, ultimately aiming for screen-wide aesthetic appeal suited to multiplayer content. And he stresses multiplayer content because there's no way you can generate the amazing modern-day graphics of a single-player game in a multiplayer environment due to the amount of players on the screen. So he's just managing players' expectations here. But hold your horses, screenshots are coming and they're amazing. Yoshi P mentioned that the animation and lighting systems will be a key element they'll be updating. As such, the minimum operational specifications for your hardware will change in 7.0, but they will still keep FF14 as hardware friendly as possible. On a side note, he said he will also ensure that 7.0 is also optimized for the PS4, and they'll be implementing graphical options in the PS4 versions of the game. For example, if you want to optimize for frame rates, you can. If you want to optimize for graphical fidelity instead of frame rates, you also can do that. But at least now you have options.
Yeah,
and
that's
here we
awesome.
get the render examples. He first showed this very first render and he went silent. And everyone started memeing about blackheads on the face and the hair physics, which Yoshi P then later said this is actually not what they're going for. He clarified that going for photorealism is not the goal, so we all got debated here. He then went on to share the proper render examples, and it's clear in this example that the textures are now more higher res, and they have added a layer of shaders to the texture. He said that they have paid particular attention to the self-shadow, especially the shadow under the hair and fringes. He has always wanted to improve upon that. Next up, they showed a Mikote render, and you can see the iris of the eyes definitely reflects light better. You can see that the face paint is also in a way clearer definition. Likewise, the same here for Rogadin, you can see more definition to the texture of the face. And then moving on to show Lalafel's, Yoshi P said that Lalafel's upgrades are really challenging, but the team pointed out that you can definitely see that the hair is more defined, the eyes are more crisp, and they look way more lively. Now diving deeper into character appearance updates, he recaps that the team will be introducing higher resolution textures for hair, skin, gear. They will also be improving material qualities, more specifically how a skin, metal or fabric is supposed to look, just to make them more lifelike. They will also use better lighting and shadow effects for player shadows. Although Yoshi P cautioned that there's so much materials and gears in the games to convert, they probably won't accomplish everything by 7.0. So what they'll do is that they'll ensure that for gear implemented for 7.0 and above, those will definitely have the improved material quality. Yoshi P said his team also knows that there are certain glamour that is fan favorites, and those will also be reviewed with priority. In the 7.x patches though, the rest of the gears will definitely be reviewed for upgrades. Yoshi P did caution that they cannot update all the NPC appearances at once, so they'll be doing them selectively. Yoshi P did say though that characters that are built with the same parts that players can choose in the character creation screen will definitely see improvements. For example, Telegy Adeleji uses those same parts, so he naturally gets a NPC appearance uplift just as a byproduct. Yoshi P did...
Alright, so I just wanted to say real quick, I'm getting excited here because this is amazing. You know what I mean? This is for a Final Fantasy fan, this is like candy, man. So all right, here we go.
Let's switch gears to show us upgraded maps and zones. As you can see from the render here, he pointed out that by adding more light sources to a scene, which they can do with the graphical upgrades, it will give the zone and map a more realistic look. For instance, he pointed out that you can see that the desk is now clearly casting a shadow. And in yet another example, he showed that in Titania, the still shot here benefited a lot from improved shadow resolution, and also the fact that they can make use of colored lighting. He said you can now see the complex details that was initially part of the asset and structure. And to clarify, his team made no changes to the graphical assets. There were no polygon increase or texture improvements. All they did was to add more lighting points, and you can see it's night and day in terms of differences.
Yeah, man.
Moving on to metal textures, he said those will be also improved upon.
That
the
is
new
gorgeous.
proper shaders that come with the graphical upgrades will allow metallic surfaces like gold to have been improved with reflectivity. Moving away from that, he also showed another example where the graphics team can now place a greater density of objects. And with the update, they can also add more texture to the ground, as the graphical upgrade allows for more memory per scene to add in textures like cracks and gravel on the ground. Changing gears, he now talks about greenery. He said that he always found the pixelation in grass to be something that disturbs him greatly. And this is something that he wants to change, and he showed an example where you can clearly see the details like the blades and flower petals now being more defined. This is something that definitely is a welcome change. Taking a step back just to recap all the initiatives around graphical upgrades, his team is adding additional lighting points.
Okay, now hold on. I just wanted to say this, for people that like to take amazing pictures with G-pose and things like that. This is huge, because I mean, look at that grass. You can take awesome environment pictures, landscape pictures now with that. I mean, not yet, but it's coming. Sweet. All right, this is amazing.
Which will allow for better quality depth and immersion, higher resolution shadows, improved texture, and better auto-generated greenery. The development team is also testing out improvement to fog and other ambient effects, although there's no screenshots to be shown at this point in time. Next up, Yoshi P provided an update in terms of the patch roadmap for Endwalker. Regarding 6.1, he said that his team is looking at April for 6.1, though this is not cast in stone in terms of an actual date. And Yoshi P said that he has heard of what people want about Hildebrand returning, so the Gentleman Extraordinaire is set to come back. So you can look forward to him in 6.1. They will also be adding a series of side quests called Tartaru's Grand Endeavor. They did not share more details about this, but my guess is you probably help her run her tailoring shop or something of a commercial interest, perhaps. In addition to that, also for 6.1, Yoshi P reminded us that we will be getting the Alliance raid in 6.1, the new Crystalline Conflict PvP mode, the new Beast Tribe in Arcasadora, as well as the new Dragon Song Ultimate. And on top of that, they're opening a new Unreal difficulty content called Ultima's Bane. Yoshi
Oh my
clarified
gosh.
that the Dragon Song Ultimate will come in the patch 6.11 instead of 6.1, and the rationale is he wants people to enjoy the MSQ stories first in 6.1, and also after all 6.1 will mark the opening of the Ishgard housing, so they prefer to wait 2 weeks after 6.1's official release before releasing the ultimate content.
Okay. Sorry. So I've been really looking forward to the new Ishgard housing. I knew it was coming, but 6.1 is April, so that's coming really soon. I've been saving up gil, like probably don't even have enough at this point, but I almost have 3 million gil, you know, to try to get a plot of land so I could build a house in Ishgard. I really want that, you know what I mean? So, man, it's coming so soon. I almost want it to not come as this soon. I want to save up more, you know what I mean? But anyway, that's amazing too. All right.
More things that's coming in 6.1. He said there will be new trust systems for A Realm Reborn 2.0
sure what that
main
is.
story dungeons. So that's something you can definitely check out in the near term. They are also adding a new calling card style UI. This is a brand new system and Yoshi P didn't say too much. He said he'll cover this on one of the next 2 producer live letters. The next one being on 4th of March. They will also be adding new hairstyles for Hrothgar's. And finally, Ishgard housing in the Empyrean will open. They will also be adding a new custom delivery for Emilians. So you'll be running errands for the twins' mothers in 6.1. Yoshi P also mentioned that the new PvP game mode will land around 6.1.5. And he also made a passing comment around DC travel. This is to be implemented around patch 6.18. Now moving away from patch 6.2, he said that there will be new trust systems for the 2.x main scenario dungeons, trust systems for 2 to 3 Heavensward main scenario dungeons. There will be more weapon enhancements, not sure if this is relic weapons, but more interestingly, Yoshi P said they'll be adding a new Criterion dungeon with variable difficulty, and I wonder if this is a step for them in introducing more difficult dungeon content. He clarified that this Criterion dungeons can be done as either 1 to 4 players, and Criterion is simply the code name and the name will be finalized eventually. But what is variable is that depending on the number of people you go in with, the difficulty of the dungeon will also scale. So it sounds like the boss or the mob's health will scale according to your party size. But the fact that this is soloable content, it really leaves me with a lot of excitement. Can't wait to see how this pans out. 6.2 also marks the release of Island Sanctuaries. So unfortunately, we will not be getting Island Sanctuaries in 6.1. We have to wait until 6.2. But I'm really looking forward to what they have to share for Island Sanctuaries. I'm sure we'll get more details in due course. Yoshi P also confirmed they'll be expanding the Glamour system in 6.1. He wasn't too specific about it, but there'll be more details coming up in the producer live letter.
I'm excited about
Moving
that.
away from 6.2 to 6.3, he said that more trust NPCs are to be added. They will also be adding the Endwalker Deep Dungeon series. This is something he teased about previously. And I think this is surprising to be confirmed at this point, but they are also adding a 5th Ultimate Challenge in 6.3. Yoshi P thinks also in 6.3 they'll be adding more updates for Island Sanctuary in this patch. Moving away from 6.3 to 6.4 to 6.5, Yoshi P shared that the trust system for Stormblood main scenario dungeons will be added. Alongside that, they'll be adding Criterion Dungeon 2 and 3. So it seems for Criterion Dungeons, they will continue to add new dungeons.
Just adding
as
more
the patches
dungeons,
go along. That seems to be their mode of implementation. And Yoshi P also expects to add an additional area for Island Sanctuary. We do not know any details about this, but I guess we can only wait and see. And as a side note, he mentioned that Blue Mages will get an update, but he's not sure about the exact timeline. His team is also planning for Gold Saucer updates, although no dates were given here. Now, the last important bit of his producer live letter is regarding patch schedule changes. Yoshi P announced changes to the major patch cycle durations. In the past, he said they did one major patch every 3.5 months, and he's now targeting a major patch every 4 months. Given the new feature list and the roadmap he's giving for the 6.x patch series, I guess it's understandable they need more time for the patches to be done. Yoshi P basically asked the players to give them additional weeks for implementation and fine-tuning, and additionally for 1 more week during the summer and New Year's holidays. Yoshi P said that looking at past years and the schedule they have kept is unsustainable, and he wants his team to take the necessary breaks just to prevent burnout. And I think this is completely reasonable. You want to keep good talent around, and it's only right that Yoshi P protects his people. He said there are areas where they've been pushing too hard in the past, and to put it into context, he shared the scope of work for each major patches for 5.3 versus 3.3, and you can see the amount of workload has gone up way higher than the historical patches. So that's all the major things that Yoshi P wanted to share for the producer live letter. The future of FF14 looks bright indeed. There are a lot of things to discuss. I don't know what's your favorite, but I'm really looking forward to the graphical updates. I'm looking forward to more news being shared about Island Sanctuaries in 6.2, and I'm really excited about the Criterion Dungeons.
Wow, so that was awesome. I'm just in awe. You know, I didn't see the whole thing, like I said, but there's a lot coming, and definitely Final Fantasy 14 Online future is bright. So that was a mouthful, but yeah, thanks for coming. Thanks for checking this out. Check him out. Check out Quazii. Thanks to him for this amazing video to break this down for us, and thanks for coming and watching this with me, guys. All right, you know, have a great, you know, afternoon, evening, night, all that good stuff, and we will see you on the next one. Peace.